Hello, family, and welcome back to another episode of the Organize My Thoughts podcast. I hope you all are having an amazing week. I literally sound like a broken record every time I do this intro, but y'all, what's good? What's poppin'? How's your week going? January is coming to a close, and I hope that you have gotten a great kickstart on your goals. But in the case where you have maybe lost some motivation and you need a push, you're going to love this episode. Today, I'm going to be giving you guys a strategy that is going to help you not just get closer to your goals, but actually help you to complete the things that you say you're going to do. Whether you've taken the time to write down your goals or not, most of you have an idea of either what you're called to do, what you want to do, especially during this year. And if you've taken my quiz, What Type of Thinker Are You, you're most likely either an analyzer where you spend a lot of time analyzing information and that kind of stalls your decisions, but mostly because you really want to evaluate all the outcomes. Or you are the perfect planner where you've got a plan for your plan for your plan. And sometimes, the details of that plan can cause you to overthink and not move forward. Or maybe you're the visionary where you are full of amazing ideas. You have so many things that you could do and that you'd be great at. And sometimes, you get overwhelmed by all of those ideas and you struggle with really finding direction and understanding where is the best place for you to focus your efforts on. No matter which one of those personality types you identify with from the quiz, this strategy that I'm about to share with you is going to help you again find some direction in your goals, but also focus on completing the things that lead up to your goals. And quick note, if you don't know which one of those personality types you identify with, you can click the link in my show notes to take the free quiz called What Type of Thinker Are You? And it will direct you to the resources that are attached to each personality type. Now, before we get into the strategy and deeper into the episode, I just want to encourage anyone who is feeling like they should have accomplished more by now, or they're beating themselves up because they've been in this cycle where they said they're going to do something and then, life happened or they lost motivation. I want to speak to that person right now and remind you that it's never too late to start again. Sometimes in the process of planning out our goals, we can be very ambitious and start to lose sight of what it takes to actually complete this goal that we have. Or in other words, we've bitten off more than we can chew and we didn't really count the cost before building. And I believe this is what keeps a lot of people stuck, especially in the moments of February where people are transitioning from having all this willpower and motivation and inspiration to now transitioning to where they realize that they need discipline and a system in order to move forward. And that's why today we're going to talk about why you should be focusing on tasks rather than goals. Goals are achieved over a longer duration of time. I know sometimes we have the term short-term and long-term goals, but when you think about goals, you're thinking about delayed gratification, something that the outcome is going to happen over a period of time, and there is going to be really no immediate gratification for when you complete that goal. Now, tasks, on the other hand, can be done in as little as a few hours to a day, depending on the size of the task. Now, both are necessary to identify, but where you focus is really going to determine how much progress that you make. Many of us are so used to setting goals. We have the vision, we have an idea of where we're going, but when it comes to tasks, sometimes we're either not sure what tasks are necessary in order to get us closer to that goal, or we know the task and we just don't move forward with doing those things because we run into a few roadblocks, which I'm going to discuss later. Recently, I was working with a client who had enrolled in my Push Challenge, which is a 3-day challenge that helps you to execute on the things that you've been procrastinating on. Now, I work with people who are typically information hoarders, where they are very qualified to do what it is that they are assigned to do. However, they happen to get stuck in their head for a variety of different reasons. And so my goal is always to address the concerns and the mental objections that they have that are keeping them stuck, but also to push them and challenge them to address the hard things so that they can actually make progress on their goals. Now, when we started working together, my client, he wanted to be a fitness trainer. And so during the first day, I told him to write out what his vision for what a fitness trainer looks like. And during this challenge, he was not allowed to get on social media, on YouTube, or any outside distractions, because the goal is for him to execute with the information that he already has. So as he began to write down his vision, he realized that a lot of his vision was built up by the things that he had seen on those other platforms. And he didn't really define what a fitness trainer was to himself. So that was the first thing that we had him do. Now, when he came to me, the goal was clear to become a fitness trainer, and now he needed a vision for what that looked like for him. So step one was to establish the goal. That was finished. Then I asked him a series of questions that required him to get very tactical in the task that it was going to take in order for him to become a fitness trainer. Now, it's important to note it was during this portion of the challenge where a lot of those objections and those limiting beliefs that he had stored in his mind, the things that were keeping him stuck, this is when those thoughts began to come to the surface and he began to feel some resistance in moving forward in his goal and even just planning out the process. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. It's so much easier to focus on the goal, the big picture of what you want to do. And so that allows you to operate in this realm of comfort because having the vision alone doesn't challenge you to move. But when you begin to transition from your big goal to task, then you now have this resistance, and it's this resistance when it's not addressed that causes this delay. And so then what happens is people abandon that goal and opt for something that's more comfortable that they can do that does not require any resistance. Now, the problem with that is when we continue to default to our most comfortable settings, we never make any progress. It's the reason why people stay on jobs that they know that they're overqualified for. It's the reason why we don't challenge ourselves to do things outside of our comfort zone, because we don't like that resistance. We don't like to entertain the idea that whatever we're doing, we are going to be beginners at some level. And ultimately, we don't want to risk that failure, whether it's failure in our own eyes or being deemed as a failure by others. Now, what was interesting about working with my client at this stage where we're getting very tactical is that the objections that came up were not actually stop him from completing the tasks that were laid out. For example, one of his tasks was to obtain his personal training certification. This would be something that gave him the knowledge in a field that he didn't have expertise in yet. And it would also be something that built up his confidence and would allow him to be able to obtain a job in that field at any national level. Now, while there were other tasks that needed to be done in order for him to ultimately reach his goal, we identified this one as the one that was causing the most resistance. And so as we began to challenge why this one task of obtaining his personal training certification was causing so much resistance, he would say things like, I just don't have the money for it right now, or I just don't have the time to take the assessment. All of these other things start to come up, but they were not actually the things that were stopping him. After some time of diving deep into these objections, we discovered that the real thing that was causing the delay in him completing the task was simply the fact that he was afraid of failure. His mind was fixated on what will happen if he does not pass the test. What will happen if he takes the test and still does not feel qualified? What will happen if he still doesn't feel good enough? What will happen? What will happen? What will happen? All of these thoughts that were actually rooted in fear. And this is where a lot of us find ourselves, where we are avoiding the fact that we are not accomplishing our goals and completing the tasks that are required to get us there, simply because we are afraid of failure. And by staying in the comfort zone and hiding behind excuses like we don't have the money or we don't have the time, it allows us to delay failure just a little bit longer. But the problem is that we can get stuck in this stage of delaying failure for so long that we actually never move forward. Now, I'm identifying what's happening underneath the surface, very black and white, but sometimes what it looks like to constantly delay failure is spending time researching things that you already know. How many times have you read a book about overcoming fear when you know that the only way to overcome fear is to face it head on and move forward? We also do things like talking to people about what we're going to do, but actually never doing it, because somewhere in our brain, we feel that instant gratification where if I tell someone what I'm going to do, it feels like I'm accomplishing something. But in reality, we're just talking and not doing. So we've actually made a habit of wasting time, but packaging it in a pretty way where it feels like we're making effort and we're really not. And it's something that we do, again, to stay in our comfort zones. Nobody wants to be outside of their comfort zone. But on the opposite side of that comfort zone is growth. It's where dreams come true. It's where you succeed in your goals. Now, I mentioned something earlier that I really want to bring up again. And I talked about the difference between instant gratification and delayed gratification. The reason why most people don't reach their goals is not because they're incapable. Most of us are highly qualified to do what it is that we are designed to do. The real reason that we don't hit our goals is simply because we have a lack of focus on the right thing and we have too many distractions. Now, to be clear, when I say distractions, I'm not just talking about social media. Social media is just a tool that opens up the door to so many other things. A lot of the distractions that are the main things that are keeping us stuck is the amount of voices that we are exposed to through tools and resources like social media, or even the amount of voices that we have by the amount of people that we talk to on a daily basis about what we're going to do. Some of you guys have way too many opinions on what you're doing, and so you're confused. It's causing confusion simply because you have too many doors open and too much access to your life. And so when you get in an environment where you're able to eliminate those distractions and identify the most fruitful area for your focus, then you are able to focus on getting closer to your goals, because you're not so focused on the goal itself, but rather the steps and the tasks that are necessary to get you there. And that's one thing that I love about the push challenge, because even at the end of the challenge in just 3 days, my client was able to complete one of the biggest tasks that was blocking him from reaching his goals, which was purchasing the certification. Again, prior to this challenge, my client spent over 4 years just researching how to become a personal trainer without making any actual effort into becoming one. Now here he is, having conquered one of the biggest tasks, and he's able to now be so much closer to becoming a personal trainer. His dreams and his goals are actually becoming a reality simply because not only did he complete this challenge, but he was able to focus on tasks rather than goals. And I want to be clear, this strategy doesn't only apply to men, it applies to women, it applies to service-based business owners. Whatever it is that you've been called to do, you can apply this strategy and see massive results. And I would love to help you on that journey. I'm actually hosting the next push challenge February 1st through the 3rd, and you can sign up using the link in the show notes. If you've been feeling like you've been losing motivation or the will to achieve your goals, if you felt like you've gotten distracted and you really need some accountability and strategy to guide you back on the best path, then this is the challenge for you. It's 3 days of execution, no distractions. Let's get this work done. This will not be another year where you did not do what you said that you were going to do. So wherever you are, whether you're driving, as soon as you get home, click the link in the show notes and go sign up. If you're at your job, press pause, click the link in the show notes and go sign up. Seats are unlimited, but the challenge is free. All right, family, this wraps up another episode of the Organize My Thoughts podcast. Again, don't forget to click the link in the show notes to sign up for the push challenge happening February 1st to the 3rd. And I will talk to you guys on the next episode.